Summer is here, and for me, that just means I want my action movies. Something I can just enjoy, I sit back, I don't have to think, it is just a fun ride. The movie we're talking about on today's episode definitely meets those expectations and then exceeds them. If you're looking for a fun summer popcorn movie that is a throwback to the action movies of the late 90s and early 2000s, then the Russo brothers, who are the directing team that made this movie we're talking about today, are going to make you very happy. The film we're talking about today, The Gray Man. Let's talk for a minute. I want to take you back for a minute. Do you remember 1997 with the movie Face Off? Just ridiculous over-the-top action, huge action set pieces, amazing music, great cast. That is the exact same thing that applies to The Gray Man. This is a movie that's very thin on story, but it's an action movie. It's supposed to give you just enough story to propel you further from one action scene to the next action scene. It is big in scope. It is grand in action. I promise you, is going to be entertaining. Starting with the score for this one, it is an 8.5 out of 10. The pros for this movie: you have an amazing cast when it comes to Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans, Ana de Armas, who is not getting enough praise for this movie. She is fantastic in it. Bob Thorton, Alfre Woodard, Regé-Jean Page, Wagner Moura, Shea Whigham. The list just keeps on going. And a thing I really appreciate with this film is that all those names I mentioned, they have had big roles in various projects on their own. So what I really appreciated was however they were utilized in this film, whether it was a supporting role or a main role, they were all utilized well. And then besides the cast, the entire team behind the camera too. First of all, of course, with the Russo brothers, who did all the excellent Marvel movies: Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity Wars, Avengers Endgame. Let's go back to that very first one, Captain America Winter Soldier. The directors, the writers from that movie, the composer with Henry Jackman, they're all back for this movie as well. And they work really well together for creating a big action movie, and this is another big success for them. And I want to actually emphasize the part about Henry Jackman, the composer from Captain America Winter Soldier, coming back and composed the soundtrack for this really fun action movie. His score is excellent and kind of creates a fun pulse throughout the entire film. What's also really clear with this film is that it was a huge undertaking. There are so many big action set pieces like I mentioned before. I will tell you this, there is a scene on an airplane which is amazing. There is a scene where it seems like they're just tearing up downtown Prague. That particular action set piece or action sequence reminded me a lot of the Fast and the Furious action movies, and I'm talking about the good ones. The good ones I mean like Fast 5 set in Brazil or Fast 6 set in London. Supposedly the budget for this movie is about $200 million, making it one of Netflix's biggest movies to date. Now, when you see these action sequences, you can definitely see that money on screen. Now, this is a movie about an operative, Ryan Gosling's character, who's on the run, so you're going to see a lot of incredible fight scenes. You have amazing fight choreography. Spiro Razatos is the second unit director, who's the one overseeing the action scenes. This is the same guy that the Russo brothers have worked with from Captain America Winter Soldier, which if you haven't gotten by now, my hint that it is one of the greatest action movies of the last 20 years, and you can find it on Disney Plus or rent it on any platform. Yeah, he also oversaw the action scenes of this movie, as well as all the Marvel movies that the Russo brothers were involved with. And as I peek at IMDb right now, I see that this guy also oversaw the action scenes of Fast 5 and Fast 6, those two additional excellent action movies that I was telling you about earlier. The marketing for this movie promotes a lot of the action and fight scenes between Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, but some of the best fight scenes in this movie are including the scenes that have Ana de Armas and Indian superstar Dhanush. These two completely take over the movie when they are on screen. Now we do have to go over some of the cons of the movie too. With this movie, I love action movies, don't get me wrong, and I don't have a problem if an action movie with its story or whatever is paper thin. It's an action movie, you're supposed to let yourself just enjoy it. Still, it's sometimes just some of the dialogue or some of what they're doing very cheesy, a little bit stupid, I gotta say. But see, I kind of was going back and forth on this because if this were maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I don't know that I'd be so critical about it. Another thing that did really bother me though was the use of drones in this movie. It is one thing where if you have a movie like Ambulance where they utilize the drones, Michael Bay kind of creeps just to the edge of overdoing using the drones, but he pulls back. I think he knows right where that line is. There are some cool outside shots with drones in Ambulance. There are a lot of cool interior shots with drones in Ambulance. In this movie, It's like they creep up to that line of overdoing the drones and then just blow right past it. Way too much utilization of drones outside to transition from one location to the other or to kind of set up, hey, we're here. It's very distracting at times. It takes you out of the movie for sure. There are some cool parts again where it's inside and drones are being used, or it's much closer to people and the drones are being used. That's kind of interesting. But when we're just going over the city, we're setting up or establishing, oh, we're in Prague, or oh, we're somewhere else now. It just doesn't really add anything after you've utilized it so many times. There should be a reason that you're utilizing it. I think there were probably a few times where there were some audible groans whenever a drone shot was being used. Some of them might have even been coming from me. Yeah, that was one part of the movie I did not enjoy. But look, overall, it is a very fun, unapologetic action movie. The Gray Man exceeded my expectations. It's an 8.5 out of 10. While yes, it will be streaming on Netflix as of Thursday, July 22nd. If you are in the United States, I do know for sure that in the US, it is playing in movie theaters at Cinemark movie theaters. However you see it though, I am very confident that you are going to be entertained. I hope you check it out. As always, let me know what you think, and thank you for listening.